Doop, 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 doo. Oh, wait, shoot. Start recording too. Got to record that also. All right. Hey, everybody. It's been a little while, but I am back. I have a slightly different vantage point here because I have a slightly different camera and haven't had a chance to set it up properly. So, um, welcome to my studio. I've got some time this afternoon, so I figured I'd go ahead and start working on another painting. This one's gonna be a little bit different. I don't have a Disney one this time, but instead, I'm working on a Harry Potter themed painting this go around. Mainly because I have a Harry Potter convention that's coming up in the next, not this weekend, but the next in Atlanta. And so I usually try to have a painting or two available, and I have one, but I thought it'd be fun to do another one if I can, get it done in time. So that's what we're working on, and based on that, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of jump right in here. So, um, like I said, I have a little bit different of a setup. Um, I'm starting out with a blank canvas, and we're gonna just kind of have some fun and see what we can do with it. This one, the fun part about the one I'm going to do right now is it's going to be kind of. I'm doing the Hedwig from Harry Potter, the owl, the big owl, and he's going to take up a good chunk of the canvas. So everything I'm doing today is going to be background, which probably will get painted over fairly, quickly. So it's not the end of the world if sorry, it's not the end of the world depending, if I don't get it right or I don't like what I got or anything like that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to put the Owlery tower. And for those of you who aren't Harry Potter fans, I apologize, but we're kind of all fandoms here. But basically what we're doing is this is going to be the tower, and it's probably going to be something like this. We'll have it kind of off-centered like that. Do that. I've got a screen cap from one of the movies that I'm using as a basis, but the other fun part about painting Harry Potter things is that none of it, like, it's a tower, so you can be as into it or not kind of deal. All right, so there's that. These are all going to be just kind of rocks. Rocks are fun. See, so Hedwig is probably going to be like right here, and then wings going off in both directions. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for anyway. So we've got our sketch in there. It's a very basic sketch, like with everything with Harry Potter and all things England. We have a very cloudy sky. So really all we're just going to do is come in here with our grays, and we're just going to give a good chunk of clouds. We're doing all different color grays, just kind of scrubbing everything in. So this part's the easiest part. Now that we kind of know where our tower is going to be. And what we'll do is we'll come back and we can add some kind of clouds and that kind of thing, but I might not even. This is actually, now that I think about it, I didn't really plan this through, but this is going to be a very monochromatic painting. Blues, and you know what? I probably want even a little bit of brown in there. Some kind of sienna. You don't want to put like yellows and blues and that kind of thing, but you do want to get some different colors and whatnot. notice I'm already going way over my sketches, and that's kind of okay. That's how this should be. And down here at the bottom, it is going to be much brighter colors. And you may sit there and think, well, you know, you're really just smushing paint on here with no rhyme or reason. And in all honesty, you'd be right. That's exactly what I'm doing. But this is kind of how most paintings are going to start. You know, and you'll come out and you'll adjust it accordingly. The best part about oils is that they blend very well. So you can come in here and you've just got all this random stuff, but you know, once you get the bigger brushes out or the blending brushes, you start adding some detail and stuff. Everything kind of clicks and comes together. So yeah, for right now, this is just smearing things, really. Now you'll notice I'm using, first of all, I'm going to be using a lot of white paint for this because it's a sky, and you know, that's just, it's going to be a dreary gray sky, and that's kind of how it is going to go. But the other thing I'm using is I'm using a lot of clear gel medium, and this is going to let me spread the paint. It's going to do two things. It's going to spread the paint around a little bit for me, so that I get a bit more bang for my buck, I guess you'd say. But then the other thing it's going to do is it's going to come in and it's going to actually let this dry really quickly. And the good part about that is that means that I can come in and put Hedwig on it, you know, pretty quickly. I can do that in the next couple of days. I don't have to wait for this to all dry down and everything. At least that's the hope. So I had a ton of white paint already on the canvas. It has already been used up. So we're gonna get a bit more out. This was not the piece I was planning on doing for Conjuration. For those who don't know, Conjuration is a magical and Harry Potter. I think it started off as a Harry Potter, but it is a magical themed convention that's held in Atlanta every year, you know, barring COVID. And I've been going for a couple years with a booth, and it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. You know, it's I do outside of the Disney stuff, I do a Harry Potter themed painting series. It's called Wizard Views. You can access that through my websites and see all the different versions I have. I started out doing some different themes, kind of branched out a little bit, but one of my favorites is I did the Whomping Willow through the seasons, which was, to me, was amazing. You know, kind of had a blast doing that, and I've actually sold out of some of the limited edition prints from that run. The originals have sold as well. So that was very cool. That was a fun series, set of 4 to do. But I also do, you know, I've done I sold the Sorting Hat. I did a painting of the Sorting Hat, and I sold that at MegaCon this past summer. So you know, there's a bunch of Harry Potter ones, stuff that I do, which is fun. I actually have over here, you'll see I have kind of what's going to be Dumbledore's Study. That's the other Harry Potter. That's the painting I am doing, but it was going to be the only painting I was going to do for Conjuration. And then I decided that this would be a perfect companion piece to it. I'm saying it's going to be a companion piece because in the Dumbledore study, the plan was going to be to put Fawkes the Phoenix right in there. Um, you know, wings outstretched, catching on fire, that kind of thing. Very dynamic, and I'll probably actually paint that later this week if you want to jump in and see that. I'll probably stream that as well. But as I was thinking about it, I thought it'd be really fun, as long as I'm doing birds and owls and that kind of thing, to be really fun to do a Hedwig one also. So that is what I'm doing. I'm not sure how I'm going to post this on YouTube, but that's okay. So once you've got all of your paint on there, which I do, you really just get to come through and just kind of play around with it and move it around with a brush however you choose to. And this is kind of where you get all the brush strokes out. You know, we're no longer doing we no longer have brush strokes here, but instead we have, kind of more of a fluidy pattern. You have the colors dancing around, the lights and the darks and such. And that's kind of how you're going to get your clouds, and that's going to work for really anything that you wind up, any kind of landscape or anything you wind up doing. And you can do X's, you can do, kind of brush stroke. The whole point is just to kind of blend everything. And this is actually not even, I usually have a bigger brush that I use for this, but I seem to have lost it. So we'll keep on with this one. What you'll find is that different brushes kind of do different things. And while this is a good blending brush, it is not ideal for a canvas that is this large or covering this much canvas. And so what I'm doing is just trying to get my shapes in here, trying to make sure all of the canvas is covered. And then what I'll do is I'll come back in and I'll kind of add some highlights here, just like that. When you're doing a very monotonous piece like this, and apologies, but I'm gonna stand up so I can reach things a little bit better. And see what I'm doing a little bit better. So when you're doing a very monotonous canvas like this, you have to wind up really getting everything blended in together. And it's really going to become a lot more about the colors and how they play. It's going to become more about light and shadows a little bit. Kind of where everything's going to be going. And you're going to want to make sure you keep all of that in there. Just like that. So now we're adding in some better cloud shapes. We're adding in some more color, some more highlights and contrasts and such. And that's just taking a little bit of black and making squiggles with it, essentially, and then blending them in. Keeping in mind that, well, we don't mind the top part to get darker and darker, especially since Hedwig is a, snowy owl, so you have to realize that they, I forget whether Hedwig's I think it's a she. It's been a little while. Maybe? Anyway, it's, trying to figure out, Hedwig's a snowy owl, so, you want to make sure that they stand out a little bit when it comes to, being able to see them. You don't want a bright white sky and then they just kind of disappear. So I'll probably have some other owls flying through here as well. Kind of like that. And you'll notice my sketch is already pretty much gone, but I have the idea of where it's going to be. So all right. Let's see. And then, like with everything, we kind of take a step back, try to see what we can do here. See what's working for us, what's not. I kind of want a little bit more highlight right there. Actually, I kind of want these little wispy things. That are made, just kind of adding the brush on the paint there, or the paint on the canvas without blending it too much. Yeah, and then, nope, did I move okay. Put a little bit more of the wispy guys kind of on the top, and we'll do some of these curly strokes to just kind of get them going. I'm going to add a bit more white down here and a bit more down here. The closer you get to the horizon, the brighter it's going to be. I'll do it that way. And then maybe we'll try to do the same kind of wispy cloud-like things. Just kind of like that. That looks all right. Basically what we're trying to do is just add some dimensional layers. Make some of these little clouds pop out a little bit. Separate out my light zones from the dark zones a little bit. Just like that. Here, get a little bit of paper towels. as much of the excess paint off as I can. And actually, while I've got that off, let's lighten this up even a little bit more. As well as here. And then we'll come in and we'll just kind of like again, not trying to do too much, but definitely wanting that little bit more of a, you know, a little bit more. So we've got that. Come in here. I just don't want everything to be all the same kind of colors and shapes and stuff. You want to be able to have a little bit of variation. And because this is, you know, kind of a British sky, I guess you'd call it, you know, everything is, it's going to be a little bit dingy. Just like that. Get those brush strokes off. I know it seems like I'm just moving the paint around a little bit, but at the same time, you know, the reality is especially with clouds and skies and that kind of thing, once you're done and you start moving on to other things, like as soon as I start putting in this tower, everything else is, I mean, that's just where it's going to be. Like there's very little you can do. So you got to make sure that the way you have it is kind of the way you want it. I think we're about there, though. I think I need a little bit more, kind of like, maybe coming like that, and then just blend that in some. If you'll pardon me again for a second, I'm going to step back and take a look. See how it's coming. That's a pretty... Make sure we don't just have any clouds that end at that tower. You want them to be coming all the way through. Yeah. Ooh, I actually am quite pleased with how that's turning out, honestly. Let's see, you want to have a little bit, kind of like where that's going. And I kind of like that part, so we're going to highlight that some. Well, I say highlight, but really we're just kind of adding a little bit of white paint to there so that it lightens up a tad. Do it there too, like that. And then with a sky like this, what you really want to do is not really have, you want some kind of like misty detail, I guess. But you don't want any of the paints to really stand out. I mean, like you don't want it to, not in this particular. This is going to be a very misty, and again, because this is the background. So long brush strokes. Lead the paint some, but you know, don't let it get stuck into a spot. There we go. Yeah. All right. Cool. And with that, yeah, the sky's pretty good, I think. Again, like I said, not going to take too much time to work on it. So, next up, we got ourselves a different brush. So this is all going to be rock. The tower is going to be a tower. Tower is going to be kind of a grayish color. The rocks are obviously going to be grayish color. And the background is going to be, the forest is going to be a grayish color. So it's going to be very subtle here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave the background here. These are going to be trees. That's going to be green. There's going to be a green hill there, or grassy stuff there, and over here. I think I'm going to put on the rocks first, just to kind of get those on there. And it looks like the difference with these rocks is I have to be very careful here, because otherwise they're just going to blend into the sky and you're not going to be able to tell what is a rock and what is sky. And the way you get around that is we're going to have much darker rocks. So we're going to go ahead and put in some shadows here. I'll put in some shadows here. The light's going to be kind of coming from over here, but not really. Like there's not much of a light source, so it's really just going to be coming from. It's really just going to be. There's not too much of a light source, so I don't have to worry about that too much. So we'll come in. And again, when I paint, most of what I wind up doing is mixed on the canvas, and especially when I'm starting to paint, like when I'm just starting a new painting, my primary objective is honestly just getting the paint, getting it down, Oil paint is a lot of fun when you're doing like that kind of the wet on wet style, but it is also fairly annoying. I'll put in a little bit of kind of blue just to give myself more of a rocky color here. What was I saying? I kind of forgot. Oh yeah, so when you're doing wet on wet, and you can actually come in and smear things together and that kind of thing, it works pretty well. But when you are don't have any paint on the canvas at all, it's kind of annoying. So and it can be hard to manipulate that properly. So when I paint, especially it's on a brand new canvas and everything, my main first goal is just to get paint onto the canvas. We're going to come in here, we're going to get this paint up here. It might not be exactly where, like, as long as I know where we're supposed to be, it might not be the right color. I might have to come in and add some additional color to it and that kind of thing. But it is definitely going to be paint on a canvas, and that's the goal. So once I get that done, then I can come back and actually really spend some time working on trying to get shapes and details and everything else down. But yeah, step one, paint on a canvas. That blue is kind of, put some blue in there. So because this is very monotonous, very chromatic, I'm gonna start adding some colors to here just to give it some distinction, to break some stuff up. And so what we're gonna do is these rocks are gonna have some blue in their shadow. I mean, they're gonna be much bluer than, kind of emphasize that a little bit. And then the trees obviously will have green in them. The tower is going to be a little brownish, I think. We'll add a little bit of brown to the tower, just, to kind of give that some additional color and distinction from the sky and the rocks and everything else. So I really probably should be using a bigger brush for this. So what we'll do is once all the paint's on here for the rocks, we'll come back in and we can add some details, we can add some color, mainly some a bit more of the shadow on this side, a bit more blues, kind of like that. And now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to have, so this is all going to be green. I'm going to actually bring this green up some. I'm going to add a little bit more of this green to the hilltop kind of stuff. So one of the most fun things I love about painting, especially landscapes, is literally being able to sit here and make mountains appear, make rocks appear, And I love being able to look at something like this and saying, hey, now there's a sky where there didn't used to be a sky. Now there's some rocks where there didn't used to be rocks. And I always love being able to, in essence, play God and be like, yep, let's make some things grow here. That's always fun to me. So, working on just getting kind of some of the highlights. Again, like I said, there's not too much in the terms of a spotlight, like light and dark kind of feel, but again, you gotta pick and choose where you want to pretend things are coming from. So we're getting there. And you can see that I've got this guy. It's going to be a little bit in the background. Kind of like that. That guy needs a little bit more blue. I'll probably come back in with some more colors in a little bit. This one is going to have, this can be an outcropping. See, that's what you use your shadows for. Your light and your dark is to, you know, be able to sit there and say, okay, this is going to be the kind of outcropping of rocks here, here. There's one here. Here's one right here. And because you have those rocks there, that means that you're going to have some shadows right in front of them, you know, kind of like that. And that'll highlight them even more so. These guys will be some shadows. You know, and you're really just trying to, definitely going to have some shadows over here. Kind of like that. Put some in up here. I mean, rocks are very, you can see things are kind of starting to blend together. That looks pretty good. We like where we're going so far, don't we? All right. I think, sticking with my idea of it's just the paint on the canvas, I'm gonna go ahead and get some of my green out and start mixing up some kind of dark green colors for these trees and this grass. And like I said, this is still gonna be a fairly hazy green. It's not going to be vibrant or anything like that. Even that might be a little too vibrant. We'll tone it down with a little bit of brown. There you go. That's more what I'm looking for. We'll come in here. This will be one of those kind of green grassy areas that runs right up into the rock, and so you kind of have some green that gets up in there and then some rocks that get down in there and that kind of thing. So maybe, sure, why not? Put some over here. So, I know I haven't been on in a little while, and the reason for that is all the traveling that we've been doing and everything else. I think I'm back to where I'll have a normal schedule. My thought is going to be that I'm going to try to do Tuesdays and Fridays about 3 o'clock, really. Those are both days that I can get off a little bit early. I can come down and come to my studio and kind of get things set up. It doesn't put me streaming on the weekend, which is always kind of a, you know, tricky time because it's the weekend and there's always going to be something going on, I think. Usually what happens with me anyway. So at least this way I can, you know, I don't know who's going to be able to watch it from like 3 to 5 on a weekday afternoon, but maybe you guys are bored and want to, you know, watch something at work while you're pretending to work. I don't know. I know that's what I would do. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I assume you can always watch this after the fact as well. So now this is the tricky part, not because it's hard, but because I'm filming and you guys are screwing up my... I'm not right in front of the canvas, in case you can't tell. So working on something over there is a bit tricky. So we're going to come in here, and really all we're doing is putting in, and this is going to be fairly far in the background, or supposed to be. So we're going to come in and we're going to put in kind of the appearance of trees. Man, I hope that's straight. Yeah, they're all leaning towards where I am, but the hill's leaning that way, so I guess they're supposed to. Again, this is all the background stuff, so. And yes, you can tell I've painted over my rocks a little bit, but I can come in and all right, so we've got something like that, and I'm gonna come in, grab kind of a little bit of a different brush. And just give some kind of dark texture in with this guy. Kind of like that. And then we'll come in and give it the kind of appearance of tree trunks, kind of like that. There we go. And then I'll come up here. This is really just kind of adjusting the brushes a little bit. You know, what we could also do is have a little bit of yellow here. Well, come in and just kind of put in a little bit of branches right here. For where the kind of the tops of the trees are. There we go. See, a lot of it's just playing around. And then just kind of like what we were doing on the mountains, let's distinguish where our lights and darks are going to be. Like that. It's one of those weird things where I'm sitting here wondering how much detail I should put into this. And then realizing I'm probably just going to have a giant owl wing covering up, you know, most of this. So maybe it doesn't matter after all. Or maybe it does. There might not be an owl wing here. And if that's the case, we want to make sure that our owl wing is as best as it possibly can be. Or our background is not distracting, essentially. So, all right, so we got our green in. I do love painting rocks. Rocks are so much fun to me. Because you're really just coming in and you can do kind of whatever you want to with them. I like tree bark. Tree bark's a lot of fun too. But let's see. You just have to make sure you know where your highlights are going to be and where your shadows are going to be. How you're going to get them in there. Like that. These rocks are definitely a little bit big. Actually, you know what I should do is I should cut this one off some. There we go. That can be a little boulder that's sticking out there. I like that. We should do that again. See? That's what I mean when I feel like you can kind of play God a little bit when you're painting like this. You can just go in and say, yep, that it's going to look like this now. All right. There we go. And then you're just responsible for making sure that your, lights and darks are kind of, if your dark's going to behave one way, if your shadows are going to behave one way on one side of the mountain, then they should behave the other way on the other. That's kind of my thought. Make sure you have your distinction between your different rocks. All right. We want to make sure that we have our shadows where they need to be. Even our grass needs to have some shadows, so. Okay, maybe not that shadowy. that. Definitely some shadow, mostly shadow over here. Yeah, all right. There we go. Pulling out a different brush. There's a little bit too much paint here. And you kind of want to make sure that, I'm going to even get my big sky brush that I was using. What you really want to do is make sure that, like, well, I guess this is going to be different depending on your painting and whatnot and what you're going for. What I'm doing here, I want to make sure that my background back here is kind of muted. I don't mind a little bit of these shadows and paint strokes being out here, but I do want to keep it kind of as muted as possible, because one of the things that I'm doing, I don't know if I mentioned this actually, one of the things I'm doing with both of my Harry Potter paintings that I'm working on is I'm actually going to be, while the foreground and background, like I'm doing here, or while the background anyway, is going to be in kind of, you know, I'm just sitting here with my brushes and going to town on it. The owls themselves are going to actually be done solely with a palette knife. And for those of you who don't know, what that means is it means I'm literally going to be just piling paint on top with my knife, and I do that a lot. I really enjoy that painting style. But this is actually going to be the first time that I try to do it on top of an actual painting, on top of, you know, or usually if I do palette knife painting, that's always the knife. Foreground, background, everything. So coming in here and trying to make that into a, you know, trying to come in here and use a palette knife for that is going to be kind of interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, but sorry, I have two different paintings I'm going to try it on, and so hopefully it'll work out really well. But also what it means is that my texture here needs to be kind of muted. It needs to be plain. It can't be too rough, or else you're gonna sit there and be like, you know, you know, it's not gonna blend in with the owl will blend in with the background, which is not what I want. So I'm gonna just come in here. Just put a little bit of strokes of my fan brush. Fan brush, I can't stand it. I don't think I ever learned how to use it properly, but I will tell you that it is amazing for grass. Go ahead and fix my shadows here. Smooth it out a little bit. There we go. All right, I'm gonna call this base finished. I'm gonna move on to our tower. And tower's gonna be tricky here because I gotta do a straight line. You guys are in my way. So, like I said, the tower is gonna be also kind of a grayish color, but we're gonna add a little bit of brown to it, and actually maybe even this is a canvas that I was working on the other day, and I'm trying to figure out what colors are still usable on this canvas and which ones are gonna have to get thrown out. All right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna stand up. Pardon me. I'm gonna scoot back a little bit so you're not staring at me, and we're gonna go ahead and do our straight line, hopefully, and our other straight line. And then we're going to put a cut there and do another straight line. Okay, that should be enough to give me some some idea how this is going to go. And so we're going to use this color. This is kind of more of a stone color. The fun thing when you're doing tower, it's a circle. Or, I mean, it's obviously, this one is round, obviously. So what we're gonna do is, especially on this side, we're gonna come in here. Yep, I screwed it up, didn't I? You guys can see better than I can. There. All right. See, the old setup that I had, the camera was in front of me, but I was right behind it, so I could just reach. I was just basically reaching around it. So it was in my way a little bit, but not to this extent. And so, but that being said, I think we're only going to be doing this setup once or twice. Honestly, what wound up happening was my camera, or my computer, broke. My computer broke, and so I have bought a new computer, which is huzzah, right? But this new computer, unfortunately, does not come with a USB, with a standard USB port. It comes with USB-C ports, which 5 years from now, I am sure that I will be super glad that I have that. But having not known that, yeah, it caused issues, so my webcam doesn't attach to it. Now, on the plus side, I have an adapter coming, so I should be okay. But until that gets here, I'm going to do it this way. All right. So there's that. And then the next thing, I mentioned I have a reference photo. Oh, right. Okay, so that doesn't do that. Well, bugger. I may have screwed. No, because this is going to go like that. Trying to figure out where my tower ceiling thing is going to go. And this is actually going to be. All right, so you're going to be like this. There we go. All right. Almost had to break that for a second. And then there's going to be another tower on top of this roof. But I can put the roof on first. And I got to figure out how this perspective is going to go. Because that's going to go to out here. I do want it to kind of, which means that the center of the tower is going to be there. I want kind of my turquoisey color for the roof, which sounds funny, but I think if I mix it with this brown, that should work pretty well. Like that. Like that. Yep. I kind of got my angles off a little bit, or at least my. So this is kind of what happens, at least with me, and at least with architectural. Yeah, sorry, I have a hard time talking when I'm focusing on what exactly is going on. So I apologize for that. But it doesn't matter if I'm streaming or talking on the phone or what. If I'm focusing on stupid straight lines, guess what? There we go. Yeah, it looks okay. All right, same thing up here. Not much room to work with on this guy, so let's see. Yeah, looks okay. And then we're gonna put, let me wash this brush off. For those who care, I'm using a dagger brush, which means that it has very, you can use the flat part and do flat lines. You can use the tip and do straight lines. Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna have to be lighter. Like that. There we go. Put you in like that. I'm fairly certain this part's going to be covered up um, by Hedwig, so I'm not too concerned there. So, there we go. That's my tower. And I think all I really have to do is put some windows in it and I'll be set. But at the same time, I think I need to work a little bit more on these lines. And again, no offense, but you make that really hard to do. So I'm going to stop it here and do a little bit more off camera, and then we'll go from there and come back on Friday at about 3-ish. Check the Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Oh shit, I forgot to put this on Twitter. Check the Instagram, and should be at 3 o'clock on Friday or so, and I will hopefully at that point be putting in a giant freaking phoenix into Dumbledore's study. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see this particular painting in its finished form or any of my other Harry Potter paintings, you can visit wizardviews.com, and from there you can see all of my Harry Potter stuff and go through and look at them, and the originals and prints are available for purchase. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Have fun, and I will see you guys next time. Let's see if I can stop this without getting... Oh my god. Brand new computer, already got paint on it. I'm never going to hear the end of this. All right. And...